Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Monday morning. Glad you are here. It's on the air, off the presses. Two well-respected journalists in the house today to talk about the sale, yes, the sale of the Fresno Grizzlies. I know you've heard this 101 times, but today it'll be the 102nd, and it's coming true. 436 MeTV option 11. Back with our program in a moment. Should be an interesting program today here on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. Glad you're here on a Monday morning on the air, off the presses. We've got two journalists in the house. As I said, we're talking about the Fresno Grizzlies. How often do we talk about the Grizzlies? Only when something like this comes up, or if we're talking about the baseball rent. Actually, we had the manager of the Fresno Grizzlies on prior to the home opener here on the program this year, and a very nice guy he is. It looks like the Grizzlies are going to stay here. It looks like they're going to be sold once and for all. We'll talk about that during the course of this program. Just want a quick programming note for the rest of this week, or at least the next couple of days. It's going to be Bob Nelson, the interim director, or superintendent, I should say, of Fresno Unified School District, will be sitting in that chair tomorrow. We'll talk to him about all sorts of things, including a possible teachers strike. I mean, there's no agreement right now. They keep threatening to go on strike. You know, in years past they've never really done it, but will they do it this time? We'll find out. Then Doug Vagum, our friend, will be here on Wednesday to, I think, dissect what's going on with the Grizzlies and what's going on with the city of Fresno, as we will do today with our two experts here in the house. For now, you're watching us live on Comcast, channel 375 as usual, Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning, call-in program. It is Comcast cable. Hey, if you don't have Comcast cable, hey, not to worry, 43.6 and 13.1 over-the-air broadcast with a digital television antenna. Then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you can watch the replay again during a city council meeting, by the way. You can watch it. Anyway, 13.6 YouTube. I'll tell you what that's all about in a moment. Then 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. After that, you can catch us on YouTube. You know, I've talked about this topic so many times over the last 5 years. Chris Cummings, the owner of the Fresno Grizzlies, has been on this program so many times before, and he's going to come on again, even if he sells the team. But, you know, we've heard it all before. The Grizzlies are for sale. Chris Cummings has a tentative buyer. We've heard it so many times, over and over and over again. Oftentimes, we hear it so much that we just turn a deaf ear to it. Like, I've heard enough, I don't want to hear it. Don't turn a deaf ear this time. Listen up. Let's roll the videotape. The moment of truth, my friends, may arrive as early as, well, today. And if everything goes as planned, the Grizzlies could have a new owner in less than 2 months. Reached over the weekend in New York, Cummings told me that a deal to sell the team is in the final stages, that the potential buyers are from out of state, from California. Although no deal has been signed, it's been agreed upon. That's about all Cummings could tell me. He signed a confidentiality agreement, but here's what we've learned here at Connect with Me, and our two experts are going to expand on it. There's an 18-page report, an agreement between the city of Fresno and Cummings, posted online. City website under the City Clerks tab. It's not been signed yet. The council holding a special meeting today at 2 o'clock inside the chambers where they could vote on it and approve it. If it happens, that's step one, then Cummings needs to clear up a couple of loose ends with the buyers. Then Major League Baseball, I think, and the Pacific Coast League at least need to approve it, as well as the council. If it happens, it's a done deal. The online report says that Cummings is trying to sell the team to Fresno Sports and Events, JC Sports and Entertainment, Fresno Home Field. All are LLCs out of Delaware, limited liability companies. Cummings bought the team in October of 2005. The Grizzlies moved into the Chuck 3 years earlier. On average, their attendance is slightly up this year to about 6,500 a game. Live in our studio right now is David Taub of GVWire.com and George Hostetter of CVObserver.com. If you go to the websites, they both have updated written stories on what's going on with the Grizzlies, what's going on with that council meeting today at 2 o'clock, what's going on with Chris Cummings, who the buyers are. We'll reveal them here on the program today. Go online and read those stories. Come back and call in 436-MeTV, option 11, here on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. Today's sponsor is Dr. Thomas Casagrande out of 2020 Optometrics at Shaw and Blackstone. Back in a moment. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
All right, back here on the program talking about the sale of the Fresno Grizzlies. Do you care? Do you go downtown in the city of Fresno? Do you go to Grizzly Stadium? Do you go to any of the baseball games? Does this affect you one way or the other? That's right, Chris Cummings bought the team back in 2005. He's on the verge of a sale. And the biggest issue is the fact that that rent, the original debt for the Grizzlies at least, was $1.5 million a year. It's gone down to $750,000, and according to this agreement, it may go down to $500,000 a year. David Taub is here. George Hostetter is here. Welcome, gentlemen. I'm excited that you're both here on a day like this when the council is meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to discuss all of this. So I guess the first question is, you can both answer this. Is this for real?
I think so. You know, the fact that the city council is actually meeting about this, it's on the agenda. We see the full report. Both people that George and I talked to, I'm sure we talked to the same people, say it's for real. And you're right, we've been hearing this for a while, but yeah, I think it's for real.
George, is there any reason to turn a deaf ear to this now?
No, and even in all the past, as you mentioned, John, we've been dealing with the Grizzlies in the downtown stadium, you know, for 20 years, and a downtown stadium for 30 years. I find it endlessly fascinating. Even with all the starts and stops, it's always fascinating, and I think it always applies to our readers and Fresnans. We're dealing with money, we're dealing with downtown revitalization, we're dealing with city hall politics. This is good stuff. This is good stuff.
No, it really is, and the viewers at home out there, look, I mean, I said just coming out of the break, you know, does this affect you? Of course it affects you. You know why? It's your money. It's taxpayer money. Everything that City Hall does is taxpayer money. Am I right, David and George?
Well, of course, it was funded in 1998 or 2000 or so when the city council initially voted for it. It was bond money. So yeah, it is city money going into it. You know, the tenant, the Grizzlies, pay the rent, and this agreement today is going to drastically reduce the rent again.
So, and as I was watching your introduction, John, and as that we had an aerial shot of the stadium.
Chuck.
The Chuck. And that over there at H and Tulare. And as we progress talking about the council meeting, City Hall, and the stadium, just keep in mind, and I hope the viewers keep in mind, what was at that corner 25 years ago.
What was it? I wasn't here 25 years ago.
Remember, there was a parking lot and a motel, and on H Street, because it curved toward Ventura, there was this drainage pond that was sort of a hangout for the homeless. In other words, it was not very pretty. And so my point being is that keep in mind as we progress about all the politics here that what's there now, very expensive, yes, with a 30-year bond on it, over half done, but it's so much better what we've got there now than what was before. And so whether it was it's been a rocky trip getting there, and it's going to be a rocky trip for the next 15 years, but just keep in mind how fortunate we are to have that stadium at that site.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the gritty details about this, because I kind of touched on it in the monologue a little bit. So, the original deal, as you gentlemen know, $1.5 million. With some credits, they got it down to $750. I'm not sure what year that was. Gary Bredefeld is dead set against that. He wants, $1.5 million. He wants it right now. But apparently this deal, guys, from what I read, and by the way, you can go online before I get to the question. Here it is right here. I printed this out over the weekend, talked to Chris Cummings over the weekend. It's 20 pages long. You just go to the city website, go onto the clerks, city clerks tab, click on that, and then go to today's date, right? June 26th.
Yeah, there's the listing of all the city council websites. You click on the agenda, then you click on this item. It's easy to, well, not easy to find, but it's findable.
No, but you almost, well, if I found it, anybody could find it.
True.
It's findable.
All right, let me tell you something. I stumbled across this, okay? George told me about it. I stumbled across it.
Well, David told me about it, so, that's we're a team.
Well, I couldn't believe I was doing jumping jacks. I stumbled across this. I did it. I found it. So the gritty details are, I guess the debt service now for the Grizzlies, if it's all approved, down to $500,000, and boy, Gary Bredefeld's going to have a you-know-what kind of a fit today at the council meeting. George, go ahead.
Well, let's talk about Gary on this, because as I'm sure many of the viewers know, but maybe some don't, is that Gary was on the council from January of '97 to January of '01. Yep. So Gary was on the council when the original deal with the Grizzlies to build the downtown stadium was approved, and the key vote was in October of 2000.
And Sal Quintero, I believe, was the key swing vote, right?
Well,
deciding vote.
Well, I guess I don't know if was Sal the deciding vote, because it was 5-2, and I guess if Sal had switched, in other words, your point being that Jim Patterson would have vetoed it, and there wouldn't have been 5 votes to override.
Sal was the key.
So I guess any of the 5 would have been the key, because if it would have been 4-3, this history would have been different. But Gary was a key player, perhaps the key player, in crafting this deal with the Grizzlies and with getting the stadium how it is built now. And he's very proud of what he's done, legitimately so. So now, will Gary, but again, the politics back in 2000, the $1.5 million rent, and Gary was, with the council majority, supermajority, was very keen on that. So is Gary going to, in June of 2017, is Gary going to raise a ruckus from the dais? And I'm suggesting no, that things have moved on. 17 years is a long time, 15 years with the Grizzlies in there, that mindsets have changed. And now Gary, if you talk to him, I think I'm guessing, if I may, it's a good guess, that he's due diligence on this project. He's has some concerns. But I don't think Gary Bredefeld from the dais is going to try to torpedo this deal. That's just my guess.
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
I agree. I don't think, they always say you got to pick your battles. And even if Gary is against us as much as you think he may be, I don't think the other 6 members are. The trade-off is the rent goes down to $500,000, but you're guaranteeing the Fresno Grizzlies are going to remain in Fresno for the foreseeable future, at least through 2036. And there's hefty financial penalties if anything different happens. So I think that was the concern, that I don't know where the Fresno Grizzlies would go if they didn't play in Fresno. But, they always had that option. Well, if we have to pay $1.5 million rent, we'll just go to another city where we don't have to pay as much rent. And, in an ancillary story, San Antonio will be joining the Pacific Coast League in 2019, which means that Colorado Springs won't be in the PCL. They're actually going to still host minor league baseball. It'll be a rookie league team. But you still have a couple cities that once hosted AAA teams that are open, in the sense that no AAA teams are playing there. But realistically, there's a reason why AAA teams don't play there anymore. So I don't see where the Fresno Grizzlies would go if they didn't play in Fresno. This deal guarantees they stay in Fresno.
Yeah, there's a non-relocation agreement within this agreement, the city agreement, and so they can't move. It's a Schedule 3. It's a Schedule 3 right here, non-relocation agreement. It's got to be signed by
right. Well,
all
you know,
parties,
the penalties start at $44 million, and it decreases a little bit. There's that table there at the last page there.
Yeah,
so,
that is non-relocation. 44. So, does somebody want to pay $44 million to the city of Fresno so they can leave? I don't.
And
think
where
so.
where are they going to go? There's nowhere for a AAA team to go. I mean, San Antonio's last bastion. You know, so I don't see them going anywhere anyway.
Well, they can move in 2031.
Yeah, there's that 5-year window.
Then there's a $1.5 million penalty as opposed to 44.
If we're still here in 2031, we'll talk about it then.
We're going to talk about it then on Connect.
But it's not going to happen anyway. So this guarantees the team stays in Fresno. So we will have you know, at least 80 day or 72 dates guaranteed a year, and I think that's what the city wanted. Hey, it's better to have a little bit less rent, but have it guaranteed for 30 plus years than have nothing at all.
Right. So George and Dave, so let me ask you about your sources here, because who are the people behind these entities that are the potential buyers? The Fresno Sports and Events Corporation. The other one is JC Sports and Entertainment, and of course Fresno Home Field. Who are these people behind these companies? Dave?
Well, you know, those are just corporate names. Those are just shell companies.
But give me some names.
Okay.
They're in your story.
Right.
On the
You know,
website now.
I'll give George credit. He first reported the names, but it's a father-son team based out of Denver, Raymond and Michael Baker, and they're going to be teaming with a gentleman. I hope I get your name right, sir. Jim Kufos. All three of them have had pieces of other minor league teams. The Bakers own a piece of the Grand Junction Rockies, and that's a rookie league team, the Pioneer League in western Colorado. And now the other owners of that team is the owners of the Big Rockies, the Montfort Group. So the Bakers and the Montforts own a piece of that Grand Junction team.
So they also own a piece of the Colorado Rockies, of the
No,
Major League team? Okay.
No, their partners in Grand Junction also owned the Colorado Rockies, the Montforts.
So there's a connection there somewhere.
I guess so. You can say they're partners. To say that there's a tie beyond that, I don't think so.
Okay, because Baseball Digest, I was just reading online too, they reported that there's an ownership connection between the Colorado Rockies and the buyers of the Fresno Grizzlies. So that's,
you know, they're partners in a team.
technically, I guess it's.
But as you'll learn, there are a lot of people partner in a team. Mr. Kufos, Kufos. I hope I'm sure we'll learn it for sure later. He
with a K?
with a C.
With a C.
He's a former investment banker. He lives in Southern California. Now he owns part of the Billings Mustangs. It's another rookie ball team in the Pioneer League. So you have two rival owners in one league going to be sharing a team in the AAA, which is interesting. He also used to be a part owner of the High Desert Mavericks, which was in the California League. They contracted at the end of last year.
Okay.
So and I spoke with his partner in the Billings team, a man by the name of Dave Heller, who owns pieces of 4 teams in minor league baseball. And Dave had glowing things to say about Mr. Kufos. You know, great owner.
Haller?
Dave Heller, yeah.
Haller?
Heller.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a glowing review of his partner. Said he's going to be good for Fresno. He's good for baseball. And he just wants to stay local. Wants to own Western teams, which is why he's only partners with him in one team. And they had High Desert, but for a variety of reasons, that High Desert team doesn't exist anymore.
George, let me ask you before I go to break here. Listen, you've been a journalist a long time. What's your gut tell you as to why these groups want to buy the Grizzlies? And it's not exactly like buying the Giants or buying the Grizzlies are not a profitable team. So why invest in a minor league team that's they're doing okay? They're averaging about 6,500 people a game. That's up from a year ago. Okay, but they have all these issues with the city.
Right, but David nailed it earlier in the show when he was talking about, and David just has this wonderful knowledge of franchises, but supply and demand, John. You tell me, are there how many PCL franchises are out there? Are they producing them like widgets? Were they mass producing them? No, they're rather rare. And so that by itself gives it considerable value to somebody with, shall we say, discretionary income.
They're going to have that.
And perhaps with ambition and ego. I think that's always a factor. And again, it's a rare commodity, and it's AAA baseball. David's written well about it, and I hope you'll get David's comments on it about who they're going to, what are they, player development contract, right?
Right.
And so that's going to be kind of a mystery going forward. But that explains it. Whether or not you're going to get a 10% return on your investment, I don't know. But I'm guessing in that rarefied air, it's rather exciting to own one.
Yeah, I guess it is, but I remember back in 2005 when Chris Cummings was pretty excited, too, about buying the Grizzlies.
Well, remember that for Chris, and he'll tell you the story, the Grizzlies were kind of a consolation prize. His group initially wanted to buy the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
When that didn't happen, you can say, well, okay. We'll take the Grizzlies.
Yeah, we'll go get a minor league baseball team instead. But
AAA, so, it's big-time baseball.
No, it is. It is.
Big-time baseball.
Just a step below the major leagues. There's no question about it. So, hey, we got a call coming in. Let's take the call before we go to break here. Good morning, caller. You're on Connect with me with both David Taub, George Hostetter. So what do you think about the Grizzlies being sold and having a big council meeting today at 2 o'clock? What do you think of all this?
Me personally, I mean, I'm just tuning in right here, but I've always thought, is there a chance that Fresno can end up without a team and just an empty stadium?
No.
I mean,
this deal has a provision built in where the team can't move, and of course anything can happen. But if they do move, it's just a hefty penalty that nobody was willing to pay that. So it's extremely unlikely that somebody's willing to pay $40 million to move the team somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about. I think when the city did the whole thing, I mean, they got themselves a real big goose egg. And, I mean, they'll still work for soccer, I guess, because soccer just got a professional team, and they're going to need somewhere to play.
Yeah, but
this whole Grizzlies thing, to me, it just seemed like a goose egg from the beginning.
No, it might be, but as far as the relocation is concerned, if the new buyer wanted to move the team, they would have to pay a penalty to the city of Fresno. At least this year they would, up to $44 million. Next year it's like $38 million, but who would want to pay that?
A guy that could write it off. That's all I could say.
I guess.
All right, that's my question. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you much for the call. I appreciate it. So, anyway, so does anybody? Before I go to break, I know I got to go to break, but does anybody know what the cost is to purchase the team? Anybody know what these owners are paying?
Not right now.
Do we know yet?
All we can say is that 2013 Forbes did a survey of minor league teams, and the Grizzlies, at least in 2013, their evaluation was $24 million. Whether that still applies today, whether that number's accurate, whether that number will be revealed to us, well, if it does, I'm sure we'll report it.
Yeah, you guys will have it, no doubt about it, and we'll have it here. 436 MeTV option 11. What does it mean to you for the Grizzlies to be sold? Anyway, it's happening. Don't let it fall on deaf ears, because this is the real deal this time. Call in. We have an open phone line. David Taub is here. George Hostetter is here, two longtime journalists. Back in just a moment.
The Justice Network is here. If you haven't tuned in, you're missing a great lineup of gripping stories of real crime, plus an unprecedented effort by viewers like you to play an active role in making your community safer. You can help support law enforcement by providing information that may lead to the apprehension of dangerous criminals or find a missing child. Great shows and your chance to fight crime, only on the Justice Network.
At 20/20 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 20/20 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. Back here with David and George. What about this? I'm reading here in the agreement. It's a special meeting today at 2 o'clock at City Hall, by the way. People, 436 MeTV option 11. Pushing the phone number. Call in if you're interested. At 2 o'clock, City Hall Inside the chambers, they'll be discussing this agreement, the one I'm holding right here in my hands, about the sale or potential sale of the Fresno Grizzlies. Profit sharing, what do you make of what's in this agreement? George?
Well, John, if I may just, before we get to that question, if I could just circle back to, we've been talking about this non-relocation agreement or element to the contract. Mm-hmm. And that stuns me. What are we doing? Well, first of all, if you recall back in 2000, and just that fascinating long debate, even the vote in 2000 was the culmination of several years of intense debate here in Fresno. But this notion of a non-relocation agreement, this just didn't fall out of the sky in 2017. The city officials and the Grizzlies officials, the Fresno Diamond Group, knew full well that if the public was going to take out 30 years of bonds of nearly $50 million, that having a tenant in that stadium year in and year out was of vital interest. And so there was immense discussion. And again, if Councilmember Bredefeld were here, he could really give us the history. But there was a huge amount of discussion about non-relocation agreements and what kind of leverage could be put into a contract to make sure that the Grizzlies, regardless of who the owner is, regardless of how the market conditions go, don't move. So I wish someone were here to tell us, well, what changed between October of 2000 and the ironclad guarantees that were put into the original contract to make sure the Grizzlies stayed here for 30 years, and what changed in this one?
Did it change?
Something funny's going on. I don't know if back in 2000 the talk was rather weak and what was put into the contract wasn't ironclad, or this one is a little bit better.
What
I don't
happened
know.
in 2005 when Cummings bought the team? Did something change at that point, and then they had to change it again?
No, I doubt it. There's some element that makes this non-relocation agreement more solid in City Hall's opinion than what had been originally crafted in 2000. And I'm just curious what it is.
Well, I don't know what it is. David, do you have any idea?
I don't know if anything's changed. I mean, if now it seems like the leverage would be in the city side because there are a lot less potential AAA markets out there. Like I said, the most recent AAA cities without AAA teams would be Portland, where the team got kicked out because they converted the baseball stadium to a professional soccer stadium. Tucson, which was never really a strong draw for AAA. They've always kind of been a stopping place when one city goes from one place to another. And now Colorado Springs, and there's a reason why Colorado Springs will no longer have AAA baseball. They'll get a rookie league team instead. So, I mean, if Fresno really was going to move somewhere, I can't think of where they're going to go. The only other thing I thought of a few years ago would be San Jose, but that's if the Giants were still involved, and the Giants are long gone. So that's gone.
The Giants aren't coming back.
No, they're not coming back.
No. They've got Sacramento, and they're in. Now, there is a possibility that if they do change affiliations with the Houston Astros, which it is likely, it looks like it could be likely after the 2018 season, they could wind up being affiliated with the Oakland A's. That's a possibility.
It's a possibility, but more likely, and there are some baseball-specific websites that track this stuff, like Baseball American, Ballpark Digest, and the reasoning works out that likely the Milwaukee Brewers, but this is speculation. I mean, we're still 15, 16 months away from for the real talk, but the reasoning goes that...
So what you're saying is there's no place for the Grizzlies to move. Where are they going to move? There's no place for them to move. They're not moving to Tucson. They're not moving to Colorado Springs. But I just want to bring up George's point. Maybe it is a little bit more solid because, let me get to this call here first. Hang on. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air with George and David.
Yeah, I called earlier. I forgot one question. Does it have to be a AAA team, or can they just go down from there? And we ended up with some kind of farm team instead of actual,
The language,
people that are going to be really clear.
Hey, buddy, the language in the contract specifically calls for it to be a Pacific Coast League team. Of course,
does it say AAA?
Well, I suppose if the Pacific Coast League goes down, the double there is language in contract for some reason.
But I mean, Pacific Coast League is all AAA.
Yes.
But I mean, does it specifically say it has to be a AAA team?
I believe there are no words that actually say it has to be a AAA team, but in essence, by saying it has to be a PCL, sure, the PCL gets downgraded. I suppose that, and there's other things like some like if there's a catastrophe.
If it's not making money now, it's really not going to make money. I mean, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay,
all right.
Thank you. But as far as the non-relocation here, as we kind of chuckle through this, okay, if they decide to move in 2017, the penalty to the city, they got to pay $44 million. 2018, they have to pay $41 million. 2019, $38 million. 2020, $35 million, and so on. So yeah, the penalty does go down drastically as we move along the years, but nobody's going to be willing to pay that. That's number one. The money, follow the money. They're not going to want to pay that. Number two, they have a contract, and number three, if they move, where are they moving to? Shreveport, Louisiana?
That's an open market, but there's a reason usually why these are open markets.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're not moving to Shreveport.
And I think those numbers are, if now I just skimmed the contract, but I think those numbers refer to the penalty they would pay would refer to the outstanding balance on the bonds.
Correct.
Is that right? So that's why it goes down.
They have the annual debt service on the right-hand side as the years go on.
So that's why the City Hall wants to make sure in the, I guess the very small case that they might move. But we need to, I think, circle back to a little bit about the rent and what that means.
Go ahead. $500,000 a year.
So, but one of the concerns City Hall has always had, and the Fresno Diamond Group, then the Fresno Baseball Club, and now the possible new owners, is that how do you make some money? And as now that annual financial audits that are public are now done on the owner of the Grizzlies, the Fresno Baseball Club's been losing about $1.2 to $1.5 million a year, even with reduced rent. So the concern has always been, okay, whatever's in a contract, if the owner of the Grizzlies, let's just pick a different, the Acme Baseball Club goes bankrupt, well, then all of a sudden, everything is put into federal bankruptcy court. And it's a whole new ballgame, excuse the pun, when you go into federal bankruptcy court and you have a bankruptcy, a BK judge overseeing things. And all of a sudden that non-relocation agreement, whether it's the one in 2000 or the one in 2017, all of a sudden it's competing with all the other interests. So
does it go out the window?
Well, you ask the bankruptcy judge. I mean, the bankruptcy judge has a variety of creditors and debtors and a variety of players involved in a bankruptcy case. That's why it goes in there. So City Hall wants to make sure that, on one hand, it gets as much money as it can from the tenant to help pay for the annual debt service, $3.4 million. At the same time, they want a viable owner in there. And
who can make money.
Who can make money and be...
and afford to pay their end.
And be a good corporate citizen and just do all the wonderful things that the Diamond Group wanted to do, Fresno Baseball Club does, and that the new owners no doubt will want to do. So the point is that then how does City Hall walk that fine line with making sure that the owner of the team has a viable business entity and doesn't end up in bankruptcy court, at the same time with the politics maximizing the amount of rent and maximizing the amount of money that they can get from the tenant to help with the maintenance, the annual maintenance that City Manager Bruce Rudd is always talking about.
And
so
repairs,
how do you do that?
And
repairs. So how do you do that? And it's a fine line. It's just always shifting due to market forces, etc. And that's what makes it fascinating. So my point ultimately, John, is that the $1.5 million in 2000 and started paying it in 2002, that was politically expedient. That had to, for a variety of reasons, that's what had to be done. But it was way too much. Everybody knew it was way too much at the time.
Jim Patterson.
So there's been an evolution over the last 15 years, and it's been herky-jerky, and David's covered it and I've covered it, but slowly but surely the rent is relocating to a place where it should have been all along. That's just kind of a shorthand version of what's at play here, but that's partly what makes it so fascinating.
My mind is racing with all these questions about, now you see, you open up a whole new can of worms here. My mind is racing, so let it race, and we'll go to a commercial break. 436 MeTV, option 11, my friends. Is it over? Well, Yogi Berra says it's never over till it's over, and he's long gone. He's been dead for how many years now? But actually, that still stands. It's never over until it's over. 436 MeTV, option 11. Back in just a moment. When did Yogi pass?
Take a look at this. Let's play.
This is too hip for you. I'll slow down.
Let's play.
Watch all your favorite classic game shows on Buzzer TV, KBBC Digital Channel 13.7.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. All right, so we're going to keep pounding this dead horse until it's really dead, my friends. There's a meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon today at City Hall. They're going to go over this contract. The council has to, I guess, sign off on it. Chris Cummings, owner of the Grizzlies, has to sign off on it. And then the sale has to be approved, obviously, by the council. I don't know if Major League Baseball is involved, but I know the Pacific Coast League has to sign off on it. They have to agree to it. Houston Astros have nothing to do with it. They're the affiliation. But before we went to break, George, you're talking about the financial viability, number one, of the potential buyers. There's 3 entities here named. So David, pick up on that. How is the city and Chris Cummings, well, the city, forget about Chris Cummings, the city going to be assured that these 3 entities have the money? Because like George has written many times over in his pieces, how much money did the Grizzlies lose last year? 1.5 million?
Was it 1.5 or it was north of 1?
Yeah, it was like 1.5 million. How is the city going to be assured that these entities have the money?
Well, they said, according to these documents, that they've been doing the negotiations since January. So you hope they've done their due diligence in the last 6 months to make sure that this Baker Group, which their main business is real estate development out of Denver, that Mr. Kufos, who is a retired investment banker, hopefully sounds like he was successful in his career, and hopefully they do have the money. Right now, we just have to trust City Hall has done their job of the due diligence over the last 6 months to answer those questions. Because you're right, if they didn't, then we're all going to be in trouble with bankrupt owners. Nobody wants that. So, Lee Brand and his team, you can say a lot of things, but you can say that they're pretty good at making sure the financials work out.
Yeah. Hey, George, you know this, Matt. Well, you do too, David, but I think we're a little older than you, so I think we may have known it a little bit longer. These people may be rich. They may have a lot of money. The team is getting, maybe $24 million. That's what it's worth. They'll pay $24 million, maybe a little more. But if it's one thing, George, I've learned over the last 35 years, 40 years of my broadcasting career, is that rich people don't like to lose money, even though they can afford it. They don't like losing it.
Right. And of course, the names of these companies that the prospective buyers, or Fresno Baseball Club included, at the end of the name they have LLC. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company. Well, that sort of underscores your essential point, John, is that people with cash, they didn't get it by being foolish, and so there's the owners will have limited liability. Again, forgive me for not having read the contract as closely as David did, and maybe you can weigh in here in a bit, but my point being, too, talking to city officials yesterday, that, and much like the contract now that with the Fresno Baseball Club that Mayor Brand helped negotiate when he was council member Brand, but there are that the owners will have some solid cash into this. Not unlimited cash, but and I don't know if it's a line of credit is the correct term or what it is, but there are guarantees in there that they're starting off on a solid footing. And I think that's important to keep in mind. But one other quick point here, if I may, is we talk about money and that contract. What I find interesting is, you know, why did city officials and people of Fresno, once the Fresno Giants left in '87, why did we want one? Why did we want a stadium, and why did we want one downtown? Well, we wanted one for the entertainment value and revitalization value. And there's a lot happening downtown in which the stadium and the new owners are a part. Well, if you look at that contract, and David, you weigh in on this, but the lease, the first part of it has the most unusual element to it, and that is this notion of 100 events at the stadium.
Oh yeah, I read that.
And
yes.
So that these don't have to be the Rolling Stones coming to town, a concert sort of like what John Carberry and the Diamond.
How are they going to get 100 events in that stadium a year?
But they can be more modest events. There might be the three of us holding a Rotary meeting at the club up there.
Right, it kind of spells out, you know, youth ball games, whether it's baseball or softball.
It says in there, and this is getting technical, I know, but it talks about APES fees, APES fees. The city is to be paid $1 per ticket, including trade and barter, for arts, park, entertainment, and sports fees. That would be the APES fees. For all tenant-sponsored events, the fees are due quarterly, but you have to have 100 events or more. So the team is going to be responsible for sponsoring and
in essence, you know, we're
engineering to get these events in that stadium. How are you going to do that?
Well,
when they can't even get more than 6,500 a game in there.
Well, as George said, it's a little more modest. You know, when they opened the stadium, they thought they were getting big name concerts on the non-game days. Well, ever since Save Mart Center opened up, that never happened. That never came to fruition. But there are more, you know, youth league ball games, high school softball, baseball, football, you know, events for, you know, Boys and Girls Club, board meetings. They said board meetings for nonprofit. They have, you know, great meeting facilities at the ballpark. So, you know, will that add up 100? Or there are other provisions or something that draws 10,000 attendees. They already do Grizzlies Fest. That seems to draw well, and that seems to be successful. They are actually expanding the taco truck throwdown, not only to do it during one game day, but they're going to expand it to a second night, which is actually no ball game that night. It's just the taco trucks there. So that probably counts towards something like that, which I don't know if they'll draw 10,000. They'll certainly drop, but whether they charge tickets for that or not, I don't know. So, you know, there's a lot of language in the contract that if they don't reach 100 events, then there's a certain percentage that they owe the city. There, you know, it's a breakdown. It's technical language. I don't really know if that's a factor. You know, that's a deal breaker one way or the other.
But this is just fascinating to me because, and this applies. I don't want to scare off the viewers as saying this is technical. This isn't technical. This is fascinating democracy in play. And again, these 100 events. You need to get that, John. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Hang on, caller. Hang on. Go ahead. Finish your thought,
the point is that, you know, now administratively, the stadium is, at least as far as the city budget is concerned, is connected to the convention center. And the convention center is run by Bill Overfelt and his team. They do a superb job. So I'll circle back to my key point, which is I think this 100 events, putting it in a contract, can be modest events, but in other words, get people in there, get people downtown, get people using the stadium, not just to enjoy baseball. Overfelt and his team will help them, I'm sure, get the 100 events. This is just fascinating. Putting it in the contract is just, and with the Fulton corridor being made from the mall into a street, a lot is happening, John.
It's fascinating because the owners are responsible for getting these events.
Well, keep in mind they're responsible because it's in the contract, but also they're part of a team. And this is especially the case since the contract was renegotiated with the FBC in '05. But City Hall is, in a way, a partner now. And so it's going to be a dual responsibility, not because that's onerous, but because it's to the benefit of both sides and the people of Fresno.
Caller, you're on the air with our two guests, and I'll tell you what, they're doing a terrific job today. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Yes, you know what, you guys were talking about, John, you just spoke about attendance only being about 6,500 people at the stadium. What I'd like to see is that Fresno lower their prices across the board on everything, because that would help Fresno get more people into the stadium. Moreno of the Angels lowered the prices, and he got people to go into the Angel Stadium.
That's true.
He got it packed. Last night, the San Francisco Giants had played with a full house, and they're in last place.
Well, I think it's hard to compare Major League versus minor league. No,
yeah, it really is.
You know, as a fan, as a somebody who's gone to games, just as a fan sitting in the stands for the last 5, 6, 7 years, it is frustrating to see that Fresno have so many empty seats there. I'm thinking, what?
Sad.
Well, I'm sure if I'm frustrated about it, I'm sure the management of the Grizzlies are frustrated about it too. What will it take to get people to the stadium? I don't think it's ticket prices. The ticket prices are pretty reasonable I think they're pretty reasonable for a baseball game, and there are a lot of ways. If you really want to find a free ticket, the Grizzlies make that happen.
Well, what are ticket prices by? What's the lowest ticket you can buy? I don't even know.
I think you get under $10.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Yes,
what do you think about that?
Those are bleacher seats. I'm talking about across the board, so we can get people in. That's been my whole thing since.
Yeah, but if you can buy a ticket for less than $10, that's not bad. I know once you get in, the concession stands are quite pricey.
Yes.
I understand that. Maybe they forget about ticket prices. Maybe lower some of the prices at the concession stands, but that's where the team makes a lot of money. So,
but see, if you take out the 7,000 people that should be in there buying the food and everything, that equals out to the loss. But if you don't put those people in, they're not going to buy nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I think
trade-off. It's a trade-off.
Well, the biggest asset of the Fresno Grizzlies has also been its marketing team.
So you have to give something to the fans to come into the stadium. Number one, you want to bring us into the stadium. You don't want to drive us out of the stadium. You want to drive us into the stadium.
Well, is that the top reason why you don't go, or do you go to games?
Oh yes, I'm a season ticket holder.
Okay.
And I was the first one. I was the first one in the stadium.
All right.
And this is what I told the promotional people, that hey, if you can't get us in, you're not going to sell nothing. You can't get us in.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Moreno with the Angels, he lowered the price the first time he took over. He lowered the prices of the tickets. He lowered the prices of the food, and he got the people in. And like last night in the San Francisco game, they sold out, and they're in last place.
Well, they also have AT&T Park.
I know that they're the Giants and everything, but still, you got to bring people in. You got to fill those seats so they can buy stuff.
Well, the team's been trying. They've been trying. They have the best marketing
of making money.
They have the best marketing in minor league baseball, in mine and many other people's opinions.
Yeah.
They've tried so much with their creative promotions and everything.
Throwdown, all that stuff.
I mean, it's really great stuff of what they do. And, if they knew, they would have done it already. And they keep trying and they keep trying.
They try different things.
It just seems like, what is the magic formula? People said, when the difference, when the Giants affiliation changed the Astros, that's going to affect things. Attendance actually went up a little bit. Oh, it's because of a winning team. But when they won the PCL championship, the attendance wasn't that dramatic of a change.
No, it wasn't.
Is it the
went down a little.
is it the location of the stadium? A lot of people say, if you built the stadium by River Park, then you have a sellout. But then again, the stadium probably never would be built if it wasn't downtown. That's where the land was. That's where the money would go to. So the magic formula, how do you get people to go to a game?
Yeah.
Well, that's a question that people have been trying to answer for a very long time.
Thanks, caller. I appreciate it.
Thank you for accepting my call.
Hey, thank you for calling. Thank you for watching. Let me throw a bunch of things at you guys, okay? You ready for this? Your head's going to spin. Your head's going to spin, I know. All right. Another thing in the contract, it talks about the Capital Reserve Fund. All right. The city is going to pour in initially $3 million to the Capital Reserve Fund. That's number one. The seller to pour in 1.25 million, the buyer to pour in 1 million. After that, it's kind of like a profit sharing thing, 300,000 a year for both the city and for the ownership of the team. David, George, what about that? Did you read that part?
Yeah, it's pretty much who's going to be responsible for fixing and repairing the stadium, the upkeep.
Is that what that money's for?
Yeah, capital improvement projects.
Okay. All right. So you guys are okay with that? I mean, that seems reasonable, right? I mean, city's pitching in the majority of the money though, with $3 million.
Now, is that cash right up front?
I don't know.
The 3.5.
Well, I believe it's somewhat of a carryover of the current fund.
Yeah, it's a current carryover.
So I mean, they're just deciding starting in 2020, both the city and the team are to contribute $300,000 to that fund.
Yeah,
so
that's okay.
So just spelling out who's going to be responsible for the upkeep. It's a great stadium. George,
there are a lot of repairs that need to be made.
George reported that
on CBObserver.com.
That it's still structurally sound, but
a lot of repairs need to be done.
It does a paint job here and there, fixing a sign here and there,
a gate here and there,
So it's I don't know if I want to classify it as minor stuff, but it's not like they have to fix the crack in the foundation.
Right. Now, is that the same as the profit sharing part of this contract, or is that a little different?
I think it's a different area because you're talking about.
So what about the profit sharing now?
Well, if the team turns a profit, they define profit a certain way of $500,000 or more, then 20% of that gets shared with the city, up to $300,000 maximum.
Yeah, I see that here.
But right now,
that's net cash flow.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
what it's called.
It's accountant terms. Yeah. So, there's so many aspects of this in the Grizzlies. We haven't even gotten to the naming rights situation, which expires in
4 years, right? Isn't it? Is it?
No. Well, the naming rights deal is supposed to.
It was 15 years, and I think it came down the pike in like 06, 07.
All right.
So maybe 4 years,
another few years.
But the contract of the team does retain naming right, the ability to negotiate naming rights.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with both George and David Taub of GVWire.com. Go ahead.
Yes, would it be safer for if the police started cleaning up the homeless, and because it's more dangerous at nighttime? When I got out of the Grizzly games, there was some black guys trying to rob me, trying to mug me, and I had to defend myself, self-defense, but they broke into the car window, so
we can't hear you too well. You sound like you're in a tin can, so we're going to let you go here. We got the gist of it, so apparently. What I got out of that is the safety factor. Apparently he got mugged, he claims. That's what he claims. I don't know. So are people, Dave and George, are people not going, enough people not going because they don't feel quite safe?
I think that's the general perception of downtown Fresno, fair or not, and probably not fair. Listen, my whole time there, like I said, I've been going to games for a while. I've only seen one broken window of a car my whole time there, of a car parked.
Was it yours?
It was not. Fortunately, it was not mine. But
was it yours, George?
I think that goes to the unfair perception of downtown Fresno. It's a dangerous place. It's, there are cops there who patrol in and around the stadium. So to say, I feel it's unsafe. If you park a block or two away, you'll be okay. Maybe 3 or 4 blocks away, starting to get to the little questionable areas.
Questionable, but to say the least. That's being kind, David.
I've never, worried about my safety walking to and from my car.
I haven't either. I've been to countless games there since the park opened up in April of 2002.
May 1st, 2002.
May 1st, 2002. Take another call here. Before I take this call, hang on, caller. Put you on hold for just a second. By the way, never even talked about this. Debt service was $1.5 million a year for the Grizzlies. Then it went down to $750 is where it is now. They're talking about reducing it to $500,000. So who picks up that extra $1 million tab? The city of Fresno?
Us.
Us. Well, yeah, we're the city of Fresno. We're the taxpayers. So we pick it up. You, the viewer, and us sitting here. George, comment about that?
And I think it's fair to say that it's a superb purchase by the taxpayers. It's not wasted money. It's a wise purchase. Again, keep in mind that the stadium is part of downtown revitalization. Downtown revitalization, as all the mayors have talked about, downtown revitalization is part is vital to the increased wealth of all of Fresno, and a strong Fresno is vital to a strong region, the Central Valley. So not to put too much pressure on the stadium. The stadium is one key part of this bigger picture, but and it's working. It's not the miracle everyone perhaps thought in October of 2000, but it is working.
Right.
And to the viewers, I say, and I'm a taxpayer in Fresno, we done good.
All right, but no miracle along Eno Street, but not yet.
Well, listen, it's taken 15 years, and I think finally you're starting to see the redevelopment around the stadium that maybe they expected 15. It's been a 15-year lag time, but I think it's finally starting.
Okay, caller, you're on the air. Quickly, short on time. We got like a minute left. Let's keep it short.
The thing is to do is bring in another California team, AAA. We got other ones we tried, the Dodgers. I went to the Dodgers games. I loved the Dodgers games. It was just a feeling of everything. You know, I mean, it's a California team.
Okay.
I might not watch baseball as much, but I always went. And now Astros came in. I tried it. It wasn't the same thing.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so I want to get to a couple of other things before we run out of time here. It might be beneficial if the Grizzlies could align themselves with a California team. Not going to be the Giants. How about the Dodgers? How about the Padres? How about the Angels? How about the A's? We have so many teams in California, for God's sake, that you'd think there'd be one.
Not going to be the Dodgers, because part of the group that owns the Dodgers also owns the team in Oklahoma City. That's why they're affiliated there.
Right.
Yeah, sure. A's, Padres, Angels could be a possibility, but they seem to be happy with their current affiliations. Anything's possible. You know, nobody really expected the Giants to divorce Fresno, but it happened.
Yeah. Well,
so
life happens, I guess, right? Okay. So on to other things. I do want to talk about the Fulton Street that's opening up. Okay, everybody is okay. The miracle on Fulton Street, is it going to happen? I mean, what else is there downtown? You've got 6 breweries downtown now. I don't know how many restaurants. You've got the Grizzlies. People are still not flocking down there.
Well, I disagree with you there, John. I don't know if flocking is the correct verb, but downtown has changed dramatically in the last 25 years. Let's just look briefly at Uptown, or what I call Uptown. That was the brand name back in the late 90s, but the Cultural Arts District, which is part of downtown. That is so dramatically different now than it was back in the late 90s as to be, you know, it's mind-boggling.
The thing that bothers a lot of people that I talk to is they have to pay to park downtown, where you don't over at Fig Garden or someplace else.
Well, I guess my point would be stop whining.
Okay. All right, David?
I don't like paying for parking either, so, you know, but I don't know if that's something that City Council has seriously considered, removing parking fees. You know, the business owners will tell you, well, we want it because we want the turnover. We don't want somebody, you know, a City Hall employee parking their car on the street.
Okay, I got 1 minute. George, is Fulton Street, opening up the street, is that going to help? Quickly.
Absolutely. 100% is going to help.
Okay. David?
Can't hurt. I mean, if the Fulton Street businesses think that's what they need to be successful, let's try it.
Okay, gentlemen, you'll come back. I'll see you back here in August.
Yes,
both of you.
Okay, that's a deal.
Outstanding show, and good luck. I know you'll both be at the council meeting today at 2 o'clock. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, right.
We'll see what happens here. And I'll look forward to your reports, gvwire.com, cvobserver.com, and appreciate your time, gentlemen. That's going to do it for me today here on Connect with Me TV Fresno. Back tomorrow with Bob Nelson. He is the interim superintendent at Fresno Unified. See you then. Have a good day. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
And away we go.
Here's the place that makes you smile. Stick around and stay a while. We're the home of great TV. That's memorable. That's me.
Follow me, sir.
Call them classics, call them the best. Call them favorites, be a guest. Every day there's more to come. Watch and see, there's only one. Me TV.
All you have to do is watch me.
Are you kidding me?
Follow me.
That's memorable. That's me.
That's me.
Me.